What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our Riverhounds and Riveters show where we talk about everything that's been happening with the team. We are squarely in the off season, but that doesn't mean there's no shortage of news. Appreciate you joining us. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Steve Mattias and Josh Brokaw. Gentlemen, I know we took off last week. Basically took a little break for the holidays. It's probably the only break that we get all year. So one weekend off, but I'm not complaining. Josh, how was your holidays?
Good. Yeah, we went home to Ohio. Not a bad drive. Weather was cooperating the whole time, so that was nice. Yeah, successful trip home and came back and just even a relaxing Fourth of July. Jeez, relaxing New Year's. We did not end up going anywhere because of the weather. They had like those winter squalls and all that stuff. We're like, you know what? Let's just stay home. And that was not a hard argument on either one of us. It was pretty much the suggestion happens like, yeah, let's do that. Cool.
I'm going to come back to you because I have a question and I think I know the answer to it and we can discuss it. But first, Steve, how was your holiday, man?
It was good. Relaxing overall. I bought myself a 3D printer, so I've been messing around with that for the past week. Fortunately, my New Year's Eve plans were 4 blocks away, so my friend Sam threw like a speakeasy style thing. So like we're hanging out with a bar in his basement. His sister was mixing up some drinks and whatnot, and playing darts and hanging out, and so it was fun.
You and I talked about this. Was it like a dress up speakeasy?
Ish. I mean, some people really went all in. I've realized that the vest that I had from 11 years ago definitely doesn't fit, and it probably didn't fit however many years ago that I got rid of it because it's not in my closet. So, and I've never owned a pair of suspenders. So, I got like a nice shirt that like kind of had a look that looks like it could have been from 100 years ago.
I'm like,
just kind of like pinstripes, dark blue with pinstripes. Like, yeah.
I was like ruffles. Like, are you like Seinfeld? The first
That's pirate? Like 200 years ago, Mike. Ruffles. It's like the puffy shirt in Seinfeld.
That's right, yeah. Steve and I did see each other between Christmas and New Year's. There was a 3-on-3 tournament at Montour that my middle son played in, and Steve was kind enough to bring us tacos, which were delicious.
They are so good.
Yeah. So we got to hang out a little bit. Comments are open. If anybody wants to participate in the conversation, please do feel free, and we'll put them up on screen. Josh, the reason why I said I would circle back, did you guys watch Stranger Things? Are you Stranger Things? Yeah. Okay. Steve, did you watch?
No, I haven't had Netflix or somebody else's login for Netflix, and I don't know if somebody else's would even work anymore. Right. For probably a year and a half or so. So
okay. Well, Steve, you can hit the road for like 5 minutes.
I don't care about spoilers.
Well, we don't necessarily have to spoil it because I don't want to spoil it for people. But Josh, just overall hot take, good, bad, otherwise.
I think I'm easy to please. I like this show did exactly what I wanted it to do. The last season, I know some people are like really meh about it, but overall, I'm just here for a good time. And I thought the way they ended it, the way they did the story, all of it was just very fun, sweet time, and I liked it. So all the people complaining about it, I get it. It's not for everyone, but I had a good time.
Yeah. Well, good. I have lots of gripes with it, but we won't get into this one. At DJ Aldoy commented, "Is this really live?" Yes, it is really live. Thanks, Mondo, for saying that it is. So yes, we are live right now, guys. Lots of news that dropped since our last episode where we had Danny Griffin on here and we were able to chat with him about everything from, sort of signing a long-term deal to what that means for D1 to how painful are tattoos if you get them on the bone. Like we kind of were all over the place. One of the things that we kind of speculated immediately after the conversation with him was whether or not Robbie Mertz would be back with his team, because at that time it had not yet been announced. The Hounds dropped the news. Was it on Christmas Eve? I think it was Christmas Eve that they dropped the news that Robbie Mertz will officially be back on a 2+1 deal, which is the same thing that Danny Griffin got, where essentially they signed him for 2026, 2027, and then they will have the option for him to play in 2028, in which point I believe Robbie will be well into his early 30s. I know that there was some speculation.
These kids get old fast.
Seriously? You're not kidding. There was some speculation. I don't think there was ever any doubt that, at least in our minds, that Robbie was going to go play somewhere else. But we also know that the game has taken a toll on him. He does now have a newborn, well, like 1-year-old. And whether or not would he consider playing again. So a 2+1 deal, I think, we're really happy about, but I also don't think it was a given. So Josh, your reaction to Robbie Mertz being back for 2+1?
I mean, I'm not surprised that he's back. I've been saying him and Griffin, it's pretty much if they are playing soccer professionally, they're playing for the Hounds.
Yeah.
If they're done playing soccer, they're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the way I kind of saw it. So it was less about is he going to sign or go somewhere else. It was more just about like, is he retiring or not? And I didn't think he was retiring. He doesn't seem close to retiring. Granted, I'm also looking at like people like, you know, Kevin Kerr and that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, we got some time, you know, Forbes, Kevin Kerr. We have a history of like players who are, you know, older than you think would be playing professionally, but they're still like starters. So I had no doubt that he was still capable of playing. I do think it was a little bit of a surprise that the terms of the contract, like that was that long of a contract. I kind of could see at some point us doing the whole, like, you know, every year we just kind of, you know, have a single year contract for these guys. I'm like, yeah, you still playing? Cool. You'll sign you again. No? All right, then we won't. So that was kind of surprising, but I do think he is good for that amount of time. So I'm not like worried about it.
Yeah. You reference kind of like the thought about Danny Griffin and Robbie Mertz, that if they're playing, they're going to play in Pittsburgh. Danny kind of said as much last week, where we were like, did you negotiate? Did you have any of these conversations? And he was like, I just wanted to stay in Pittsburgh, so I don't really care. Steve, we now have a midfield that we had talked about was probably our strongest point last season. And we now have 5 of the 5, I guess you could say. 6, if you include Junior Etu, returning, where now you have Mertz, Griffin, Sample, Walty, all Etu. You know, thoughts on bringing all of those guys back in, you know, trying to defend our title this season?
I mean, I think it's great, right? Like looking at the areas of the field where things went really well, you kept as many of the players throughout that you could. And so we'll talk about it in a little bit, right? Like there were a couple guys we knew were going to get offers elsewhere. And I think that's the level of USL at this point, right? Like you have really great season. You don't have that contract. Teams are going to come calling. To see guys like Robbie and Danny come back is absolutely awesome for me, right? Like guys that are there for the majority of, I think, like the recent success, right? I mean, Robbie's been around for, what is this, 6th season, 7th season? Danny's 5th or 6th season, right? Like whatever it is. Like Robbie came in Bob's 2nd or 3rd season. Danny came in the year after.
He left for like a year.
Yeah, but like guys that have been around, right? Like guys that know the culture, guys that know the city, guys that know the fans, right? Like it's great. That leadership is great, and then you're bringing in a bunch of other guys that were, I think, really good on the field. It's what excites me the most about this is the first time where we're going into a season, and I don't have a question about, do we have someone on the bench that is going to challenge for minutes? And I love that with this group of midfielders.
Yeah, agreed. I like I said, I think it was not necessarily surprising news that he was back. I think the conditions through which he was back was surprising, and I think it was nice of them to drop it on Christmas Eve, because we all love Robbie. I think he's become a staple, and it'll be great to have both him and Danny most likely end their careers here at some point. I'm not even saying it's after this 2+1 year deal. One of the things we did talk with Danny about a little bit was the idea that if we do go to, or if the USL goes to a Division 1 in 2028, this puts them squarely in that conversation of being part of that team, which introduces a whole nother conversation, because we don't even know what that level is going to look like. We don't know if they're actually going to happen in 2028. But to be able to be on a journey with this team the way that they have and be part of the early stages, at least, of a D1 program would be really cool. And something the city could definitely get behind.
Yeah.
So really happy to have Robbie back. I'm hoping that we can maybe talk to him next week. I know that he was traveling this week and he was unavailable, but definitely willing and interested in talking with us. So stay tuned for that. I know last week we had Danny just on the regular Sunday show and people could leave comments and questions and it was fun. And we asked him just questions about other players signing in the news. And he was a fourth member of the show. Mm-hmm. It was great. So yeah, we'll see if we can do the same thing with Robbie next week. Guys, in addition to Robbie, there was one other signing that the team did announce. Nico Campuzano was signed to a 1+1 deal. So he was signed for 2026 with the option for 2027. So Campuzano, for those who don't know, he's a goalkeeper. He played at Pitt, so that Pitt pipeline is still strong. He bounced around to 4 different teams over the past 4 years. So he signed with Cincy 2 in MLS 2 in 2022, New England Revolution 2 in 2023. He then played for Lexington SC in USL 1 in 2024, and then he was with Monterey Bay last season. Now, with Monterey Bay, he did lead the league in saves. He had 84 saves over the course of the season. If you were to compare that to Eric Dick had 78 saves. Now, that doesn't really mean much on the face of things. I think where if you're really trying to make comparisons in terms of which goalkeeper is better, I know that there have been some conversations internally, and this is really what I want to get your guys' insight on. Is Campuzano a replacement for Dick? Is he going to be potentially a number 2 battling for that first spot? If you look at just the stats side by side, Campuzano gave up 40 goals. Eric Dipp gave up 25. Now, we know that a large part of that was the Hounds' defense, and Eric Dick will tell you that, where shots aren't necessarily getting through, and therefore he's not having to do as much work. And the stats show that out. Dick had 103 shots that he faced. Campuzano faced 124. So in that case, if you just want to compare apples to apples and just purely at save percentage, Dick had a 75% save percentage. Campuzano had 67%. This is a guy who has tons of experience. He grew up playing in Spain. He played at Barcelona for 2 years and then Villarreal. Steve, your thoughts on Campuzano? Is this a replacement for Dick? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think expect him to be the number 1. The only way he doesn't is if they bring in another guy at that level and say, hey, this position is not locked down. We're not taking anything for granted. I'd love to see that happen. I think what I see with Nico is that he looks really, really quality. That defense in Monterey Bay was a mess this year. He faced a lot of really good quality shots. And so I got to figure, we can talk about losing some of our key defenders, but we still have a really solid core of center backs with Beto and with Factor, right? So I think that he's going to have the chance to really have a lot of success here. He's not going to be facing the same level of quality shots. I expect to see his save percentage probably go up. Watching some of his highlights, you can see that, maybe he's not the pinnacle of a USL keeper yet, but he makes some really good saves. I feel like the reason Eric looked like he was the best keeper, just from the eye test, is because every time he was making a save, he had to make an excellent save. And then you look at a lot of guys around the league and they're having to make a lot more mundane saves, right? It takes something special to get a shot on Eric Dick that he has to make a spectacular save on in a Hounds defense. I think Nico's going to have the chance to do that same thing. We've always had success over the past 8 seasons with goalkeepers coming in and getting better. I think that it's not so much that we've seen these keepers get so much better until the past year and a half with Bushy working with Eric. That the reason Eric was able to do what he was doing is because he's working with John Bush, who is just an absolutely excellent keeper in his own right, and has really impressed me as a goalkeeping coach. So I expect to see good things from Campuzano.
Josh, Nico comes in, historically we've kind of brought in, I don't want to say no name keepers, but it's always kind of been our stance of just like, whatever, Lilly and company will, get these guys into the Golden Glove race because of how good the defense is and therefore how many shutouts they're going to face. You're taking somebody in Campazano that, faced the most shots in the league or had the most saves in the league last season.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on bringing in somebody like that already has a pedigree and potentially putting them in front of hopefully a staunch defense?
I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, the Lily of it all. That's going to be the whole season. Yeah. Like this whole coming season is going to be seeing what this team is now without Lily. Like I can go off of experience with this team. I can be like, it doesn't matter who's in the net all that much as long as they're competent. Like I'm not saying Bushy has an easy job. But in the past, it's been more about the back line and the quality of shots that they're actually seeing are pretty weak because our back line and our, midfield and everyone in between, like they're all doing what they need to be doing and they're closing down most of the dangerous shots. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And so it is going to be interesting to see if that's the way this works. And then the other part of this is we've always seen the battle for the keeper position actually be a battle.
Yeah,
we'll have two main keepers who will go back and forth, and like even there for a while at the beginning of the season, it's like every other game it's a different keeper, seeing like who's doing better in practice or whatever. So it very much could be a situation where he is who they expect to be the starter keeper, and he has that position on lock right now. He's our only keeper, as Drew said in the comments. He's our only keeper we have signed right now, so he is our number one keeper. But I suspect we'll have three keepers. Again, historically, that's what we do. So we'll see if that's still the case now. And probably the second keeper and the first keeper will switch off and on until we figure out who, reigns supreme in that position. And we'll see them for the most of the rest of the season. But who knows? Because this is going to be the Lily of it all season. And like what's changed now, PB post Bob. We'll see what this is like.
I mean, listen, I don't think I put it on the agenda, but I definitely meant to put it on the agenda. So we're going to talk about it now. One of the things I was talking to Vincent about early last season, it was 2 years ago when he came in and it was his first time as assistant coach. I think that I said to him something along the lines of like, you having kind of the offensive pedigree, are you going to come in and if you see something, you're going to tell Bob, like, I think we should do this. And he was like, let me stop you right there. You don't tell Bob anything. Like Bob's going to do what Bob's going to do. And you're there to just kind of learn. Steve, we've kind of been reading the tea leaves a little bit with all these press releases that come out. There's other changes that we're going to talk about here in a second in this organization in the offseason. But we are starting to see little things like in all of these press releases about signings, you're not getting quotes from Vincent. You're getting quotes from Dan Visser, who is the sporting director. And I know this is something you've been calling for a long time. Yeah. Do you have, I know it's early and I know we have to see a lot of stuff play out, but based on what you've seen, do you have any inklings about how this team might be run differently this season as we go through things?
I mean, no, in the sense of like, I'm just sitting back and watching and liking what I see, right? Like that Dan is the spokesperson for everything on the player side at this point. Really, really great to see that, right? Like even if, I mean, obviously in any organization that's being run well, you're looking for the sporting director and the head coach to be working together. That Dan got that role to me indicated that Tuffy was starting to think more long-term. Now with Dan and Rob at the helm and no Bob Lilly, because for 6 years, Bob was doing both jobs. Yeah. We're looking at a really different dynamic. And so I don't know what that means. I don't know if maybe last year was the start of Dan taking over more things with contracts. And that's why we started to see some of those contracts be 2+1 last year, especially with new players. But to me, it's exciting to see where this can go, right? Like, I mean, both of these guys we've talked about are early in this stage of their career. But you're putting two really bright, intelligent guys in control of the future of the Riverhounds as we move towards Division One, right? Like I said a month ago or so, right? Like you give them the shot, and you know what? If in 2 years you're unhappy with it and you're going to Division One, it's a perfect opportunity to say, hey, we're going to make a different decision because we need something different for Division One. And so I'm excited to see what happens, and I like that Dan is taking a much more active role, but no idea what it means. I was trying to circle back and get to the answer.
That's fun. Josh, we a couple of things that we have been, I don't want to necessarily say calling for, because I think that gives ourselves too much credit, but things that we've talked about that we would like to see in addition to longer contracts, in addition to Dan Visser having a bigger role, or at least other people having a larger role than it just being the Bob Lilly show. One of the other things that we've been saying is it would be great to see more of a pipeline from the academy up through the pro leagues. And we saw some success with the women's team, with the USLW and the Riveters last year. That's great for women that are in college. The Hounds announced in the past 2 weeks as well that they're going to field a USL2 team. They're going to start play in May in the Central Conference. The Central Conference has it's very much structured like the USLW. If you're interested, last year the Great Forest division in the USL2 very much mirrored the exact same teams that were in the Great Forest division for the USLW. So I would expect us to play similar teams there. But the timing of this, to me, does not feel coincidental. This could have been in the works for a while now. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on, like we said, Visser speaking out more. Now we have a USL2 team. Do you think that these are shifts that are happening because Bob isn't there? Or do you think some of this may have been in the cards all along and now we're just kind of seeing them play out?
Yeah, we had heard rumblings about the USL2 team pretty early in this season, or last season. It was kind of like a badly kept secret that it was going to be happening. So like we knew that was in the cards, and we've also had like a USL Academy team as well. That's like the Academy League. Yeah. So there's definitely been this kind of like pro system that they've been working out and like team they've been wanting to do. I do think it is more in line with just the league itself where it's going, more so than like the Hounds doing something special here. It's kind of like the roadmap that they want all the teams to be going for. So it's definitely good. I'm glad the league's doing that, and like that's what we're kind of heading towards, especially if the Hounds make the jump to the Premier League. We're going to have that gap there where we're going to want to have kind of like this intermediate spot. So having a basically, I don't know what you would even call this, like pre-League 2, like League 3, basically. Yeah. Division 3, I mean, not League 3. Division 3, Division 4, 5, whatever. And then have that kind of being the ramp up for the pros is awesome. But it's so hard because I don't really know how this looks with college involved. Yeah. Because a lot of these players are going to be going to college. So like this league is like you do it in between your, season with your college team.
Yep.
Kind of like how the Riveters are doing right now, where a lot of the women playing go to college and then play in this team as well. I suspect that's what this is as well. Yep. So it's very much like, does that mean much? Or, is it just a super condensed 12-game season where it's like basically not rec league, but a summer league type feel? And does that really help all that much? I don't know how much stock to put into this, but I do want to see a pipeline built, and this is part of that pipeline.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a stepping stone in the right direction. I almost feel like once USL Premier happens, I could see them rebranding this, not as USL League 2, but like USL College or something like that, because it is confusing to have Premier, Championship, League 1, and League 2, but League 2 wouldn't actually be involved in Pro Rel because you're encouraging all of the other teams to have a League 2 team as well. Yeah. So I think it's great. I think we saw what it did for the women's team and the Riveters. I don't expect there to be a similar turnout and show of enthusiasm because this is like the equivalent of like an MLS2 team at this point. And so you're going to have, parents of the players show up. You're going to have a few fans here and there that show up. What's interesting is they play primarily in June and July, which we've already said is kind of the summer of soccer for the Hounds, and Highmark Stadium is going to be packed already because of games. So I don't know if they're going to play at Montour. I don't know where they're going to play. I think regardless, I'm just happy that it's happening, and there's just more for players to do.
I just want to go on a little tangent. So this is part of the reason why the whole having the same vernacular as the European League is kind of confusing for USL to adopt. I mean, it's been written on the wall for a while now. We knew this is what that was going to be, where it's like League One, League Two, Premier, Championship. That's been where they've been building towards. But it's annoying because, like, in this situation, like, we have a college system, we have pre-pro and like amateur and like this in-between league, and like it doesn't exactly fit into the European model. So now we're trying to like cram these terms into these leagues or these teams, and it doesn't really work. So I do kind of wish we would have gone a different route, but it is what it is. And so it's going to be even more confusing for newer fans coming in and being like, so wait, what league are they? This is the championship league, not this is the championship for the championship league.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. So my take on it is I think this will move a little bit more towards like the Spanish model, where you still have the pyramid, you still have the different levels, but some of those developmental teams are locked in at a lower level and fill things out in a more regional format, which is a bit different than England, right? Like, so we're using the English nomenclature, but probably headed for more of the Spanish structure, I think. I think it's great because I mean, I think we've seen this, right? Like you see, a lot of college players playing for a team like Steel City FC, which is at that level. But you also see a lot of guys that are trying to make a mark and earn a professional contract. And so for me, seeing a second tier development team where you can bring some guys in that look like they have promise and let them play for a few months, and figure out if they're going to make an impact on your roster this year, or if maybe they'll make an impact on your roster the next year. It's great, right? Like that. I think when you say like this is something the league is moving more towards, what that makes me think of is, right, like like it took how long for MLS to start getting development teams, and then it took how long for them to start their own league with that, whereas USL is able to do that now, much closer to moving to Division One, in a way that I think can be really sustainable for the pipeline and bring those kids into the semi-pro and professional ranks.
I had a thought and then I totally lost it because of Liz's comment saying, well, then I'm going to need a season of Ted Lasso in Spain so that I can learn that system. You're not wrong. It came back to me, Steve, to your point is that, we have a system right now on the women's side where with USLW, you're bringing in a bunch of college players. You have a player like Tessa Delarose, who was a senior this past year. We don't have another team for her to go to. So to expect her to come back to Pittsburgh to play for the Riveters this summer is not likely. She's going to be looking for a pro contract to be going to play somewhere else. Whereas on the guy side, now that we have this 2-team, there could be that pipeline. You could have players that come in and play through college. Who knows what the relationship, I'm sure that it will be tight between the 2-team and the pro team. So if there is somebody that's excelling on the 2-team, even just from a practice perspective, they might be able to practice with the pro team. Whether or not you can sign them or have them bounce back and forth, I don't think that that's a possibility. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But
I don't think we know yet.
But you at least still have that path so that if you do have somebody that is really promising, that wants to finish college, but then is looking at pro options, you could potentially offer them a system that they're familiar with an environment that they're familiar with, and you potentially keep them in Pittsburgh, which is something we haven't been able to do up to this point.
It's weird though, because like we have this situation with MLS where they have the draft and they go to the college draft, they draft a player, that player never sees the field, they're probably not actually going to be signed, and they end up going to USL championship. That's how we got on a lot of our players from the MLS draft, and we just pick them up after the draft. So like this is where the confusion is going to come with the whole Premier League. in USL is that Premier League on the level of MLS? And if it is, we're going to have the same issue where these players aren't going to be able to go from USL 2 to Premier League because that is a big jump. Or are we calling it Premier League and it's going to be like Championship 1, Championship 2, where it's like the better championship teams and the lower championship teams? And it's kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's probably more like what we're going to have, where it's kind of like a half step, where it's Championship, Premier, MLS is above that as far as quality goes. If that's the case, then yes, this could work out where a USL 2 player could graduate to after college to a championship team or a Premier League team, depending on how good they are. So hopefully that's what we see.
Yeah, I think the other element for me that really makes a lot of sense is if you are signing these guys to contracts, you're putting yourself in control of these players. And so maybe they can't make the jump to your top division team, whatever level that is. But if you've got a contract on this guy and he looks like he can play in League One and a League One team wants to pay a transfer fee, then now you are making money off of these players that you're bringing in, developing, and there's actual value to the work that you're doing as an organization, not just letting them walk because you can't find a place for them. You can probably find a place somewhere for them, somewhere else, that then allows you to invest money in bringing in players that may make a difference long term.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. Like, I'd love to sort of see where we are 10 years from now and look back on this conversation and have an understanding of how it actually is all going to play out. Josh, to your point, I think this could be super beneficial, not just for, the overall development of soccer for the Hounds themselves, but you have teams that are currently in League One or teams that might be in the championship and not in the Premiership. How much does this potentially save them in terms of growing talent? Could there be incentives for bringing in people that played in your college academy so that there's more emphasis on trying to develop that? We've seen this take shape in multiple ways, even in England, where you have certain leniency for homegrown talent and how they don't really cost anything against your books. And so it could all be very interesting, not just for the development of soccer across the country, but the development of soccer in Pittsburgh. Because if you have this emphasis on homegrown talent, what does that mean? Where do you're going to see even more aggressive recruiting from the Hounds to try to get players into the academy versus going somewhere like Beedling or Steel City. So it's all very interesting, and I think it's a cool starting point. And like I said, it'll be really interesting to see where it ends up. Guys, anything else on just the USL to the whole, like, we are seeing change? I think I titled this New Year, New Club. It's the same club, but because of the changes that are happening, I think we're going to see a lot of new stuff that we haven't seen in previous years. I mentioned wanting to talk to Robbie Mertz. I know we're also going to talk to Rob Vincent. He is busy doing other stuff. He let it drop in one interview that I think his wife is due this month. So I'm sure that's taken up some of his time. The first practice is on Monday, January 26th. Which feels like a long way away. It is really not. It's right around the corner, and we don't have a full roster. So, I'm sure he's working on that. Just so many other things going on. Any other thoughts before we get into the other big topic that I wanted to touch on today?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's fun seeing the Hounds social media and communications and whatnot, and that there's now a star above the logo in 97% of the things that they send out. And
it's probably only going to last a couple of years, because then if they get to Premier League, that star doesn't matter anymore. So, but for now, I'm enjoying that star. No, the thing I was going to bring up is I know the timing is going to be crap because of the Summer of the Hounds is going to be overlapping with it. But I really hope the Steel Army, if you guys can do one game for USL League 2 and just show up to that game in force, be hilarious, because we saw it with the Riveters. They don't have that type of supporter culture in that level of play. So having everyone show up to a game and do the drums, do the smoke, everyone just be like, whoa.
Agreed. That would be great. Well, guys, one of the other underlying big pieces of news that has percolated all around the internet this past week is the fact that the players union within the USL, which is a relatively new thing. Robbie Mertz was on the board for a few years. He has now stepped off the board. Again, one of the reasons why I want to talk to him and get his thoughts on this topic in general. The player union have a collective bargaining agreement with the league. I believe they have one with the league and the owners, or maybe just the league. I know the USL broke this down the USL show broke this down pretty well, but that collective bargaining agreement has expired. Now, what that essentially means is that they are going to continue working under the old collective bargaining agreement for now, but they are still negotiating with the league for better terms. Steve, I know you've been looking at this pretty closely. Give us some insight in your thoughts on what's sort of happening here.
I mean, I think that there's nothing I can say that the guys over at the USL show didn't say better, because that's probably 70% of my information comes from them, right? But there have been a few other things as well.
So there's an article in The Athletic as well.
Yep. And there was, I think Medium did another one this week. The Athletic one was really good as well. I mean, the big thing about it is that the players are asking for some bare minimums above what they felt they had to compromise on to get an agreement the first time around. And I think that's an important part, right? Like, we're talking about negotiating collectively for the second time for the players union. And so now they're saying, hey, like, since the last time, you've now announced you want a first division league, and there's not even the professionalism at the championship that's at least at a baseline for everybody, right? There are still players that don't get health care. What is it? Something like 20% of players make under $35,000 a year, and that meals and healthcare can come out of that the team, or meals and housing can come out of that the team provides. Then you throw on the cost of any premiums that they might have to pay for healthcare. Even if the team is offering them healthcare, it may not be cheap, right? So the level of sustainability for a guy coming in to the league may not be very strong. And so you're asking these guys to come in and to make this decision for passion, not because they can make a sustainable living. And I think that the big thing that I think about with that is, like, there's a lot of opportunity to say, hey, like, what does it look like if we can ensure that the players are here not just because they're passionate, but because they're good. There are probably a lot of players that forgo signing a contract with a team because when they look at the offer, they're saying, I could do this, or I could go work at this company that I also have a job offer from that pays literally twice as much.
Yeah.
I love playing soccer, and it was a big part of my life up to this point at 22, 23, but like, is this the future? Right. I mean, Eric Dick talked about it with the guys from the USL show, and talked about, like, right, like, having to make the decision of, like, is this worth the money? And for a lot of players, it's probably not. I think the other thing that's really, really relevant to this is at some point, so I think you kind of asked this, maybe didn't ask this, but to address it, my understanding is that the collective bargaining agreement is, yes, with the league, but that is the owners. It's not with USL headquarters specifically, right? Like, it's like USL headquarters and the owners are in the group together. But there's a big disconnect as well between the ownership groups and the league headquarters. And every time you watch a USL game, when you see that stupid Prinks tires or Jägermeister this or blah, 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 right? Like, that doesn't make it to the teams. That money does not make it to the teams. And so at some point, this is not the player's responsibility, but at some point the owners also may need to push back and be like, hey, like, you're bringing this money. We need to find a way to make it sustainable for every team. And so my big question is, okay, USL headquarters, like, how much longer can you rely on strong markets to keep your league afloat, especially as you want to expand, when how many teams do we see fold year over year over year across the USL pyramid? 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so you're asking more people to keep putting money in, but where is that money going? It's going to you. It's not going to making the team stable and the organization stable that actually bring you in that money. So,
yeah. One of the other things I know they're pushing for as well is 12-month contracts. A lot of the players are not on 12-month contracts, and guaranteed contracts. So if you do have a team fold, like you said, like North Carolina, you have guys that are on contracts that are still going to get paid. Like there's what you were going to.
North Carolina didn't fold.
Well,
they ceased operation so they can save money to go to Division I, right? Like it's even worse than folding.
Well, yeah, okay, sorry. I thought you were defending North Carolina.
No.
I'm
railing against them. Like it is way worse than folding, right? It's not that they're unsustainable. It's that they're making a stupid decision. Say we're going to cancel these contracts and not play these players, right? That's why it's even more important for those guaranteed contracts.
Josh, I know it wasn't shown at all on the broadcast of the championship game, but the players walked out wearing T-shirts that said what? Pro Rel, Pro Standards First, or so it was something like that. The Steel Army had signs supporting them. The fans in Tulsa had signs supporting them. What's your take on sort of all of this and what's happening?
It has to happen. Like the players are, it doesn't look like the players are asking for all that much, honestly. And it's just kind of a continuation of pay to play. If they're not getting health insurance, if not everyone's guaranteed health insurance, if they're not full-time employees or part-time employees or seasonal employees, wherever you want to call them, they're not getting the benefits that they need to survive. That makes this only accessible to a certain number of people. Yeah. And that's why soccer fails in America, because if only the people who can play are the ones who are already privileged enough to have like a safety net under them, we're not going to get the best players in the country. Players, possible players could look at the state of soccer and be like, well, I'm not going to put my time and effort into learning how to play this. I'm going to do a different sport where I know I can, support myself and my family, future family. So like this is just a continuation of making the players basically paying for the privilege to play the sport. And then that's like, you're going to get only a small percentage of the players in America who are actually good, who happen to be born to the right, bracket of income, who have that ability to play. So like, this is why it sucks, because like we need these players unions and like the league to figure this out and actually have it so they can support these players and we can get better players in America. Or we're gonna be again looking at a World Cup, where we barely do anything and we look pathetic, and it's gonna be crap. Like you're not gonna get a better quality soccer player without these contracts.
I want to talk about the timing in a second, but to your point about sacrificing, a friend of the show, former Hound Joe Farrell, was quoted extensively in the Athletic article and how he basically said, they're not asking for a lot. He's looking at his life now where he literally is retiring from soccer. He's not that old. He's still an elite level player, but he said he's looking at his friends and they all have homes and they have 401ks and they've started building this life. And he's had to sacrifice to the point where he has to have an apartment with like 3 or 4 roommates because that's all that he can afford just so that he can keep playing this game. And so from a financial standpoint, he's setting himself up to be in a worse position than other people that he started in level with simply because he chose to play in the USL Championship. Yeah. And so, absolutely. And I know that when the first collective bargaining agreement happened, I forget who we talked to. We've talked to a number of the players about this, and they all kind of came out and said, look, this is a first step. We took a ton of concessions to kind of help ensure that the league gets its footing. It now feels like the league has its footing. So I think that their argument about, you're going to set up a USL Premier League. You're adding new teams every single year. You're seeing a lot more stabilization across markets. You're demanding that teams in the Premier League are building 15,000, seat stadiums. It's time to come back and kind of make things fair a little bit. Josh, you mentioned World Cup's happening this year. I know there's a lot of people torn because this could potentially end in a player strike and mean no season in the USL in a year where the World Cup is going to be here in America. It feels like the timing is awful. So I've seen online, there are multiple conversations. Some people are saying, don't be stupid. Why would you try to strike now? Isn't the time? And there's also the argument of this is the perfect time because you have
Mhm.
all of the leverage. The coach, the club owners and the league don't want to shut down during a World Cup season. Steve, where do you fall on that? Is this good timing, bad timing? Doesn't matter. Where are you?
I think it's good timing. Because like, what do these players have to lose at this point, right? Like this is the owners, and I mean, Taylor did a really good job of talking through this on the USL show episode. That this is not the owners. This is a small handful of owners that they think is four or
It's like
five.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Right. Like it is a few owners that are doing this and pushing back and not voting for this at this stage. Right. Something like 28 or 34 sessions over the past 2 seasons that they've tried to reach a deal, and there's a few people holding out. And so I think it's great timing because you know what? The players can put those teams on blast. The league itself, I think, should be stepping in and saying, hey, like, we don't want to strike. And so you've got to figure something out or come up with some sort of way to penalize those ownership groups and say, well, you know what? Then you don't qualify for moving up. You can only be demoted for the next 5. I don't know what they can do or whatnot. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that is really like that's the crux of it, that this is not everybody, but it's a few people that don't want to pay their players. Then get out of the soccer business because you're operating a professional soccer team. You need to treat them like professionals. You're bringing in professional level money, so pay your players professionally.
Josh, good timing, bad timing for World Cup?
Great timing for the players. I mean, this is the chips for, I don't understand the thought that like, oh, this is a terrible time because you're ruining like, no, this is when it matters the most. And this is when you have the most leverage. I mean, let's be honest, it's a cluster. The World Cup itself seems to be a mess right now as well. So like, why not also be a mess at the USL? But it is a situation where, you look at what FIFA's doing and kind of like the greed and corruption there. And like, you don't want to be that. You don't want that to be the perception that people have of soccer in America. Then don't be that. Like, prove them wrong by not being that corrupt and money hungry. And we're hearing about like, oh yeah, the fan experiences outside of World Cup games where they used to be free, where they're just on a big giant screen, and people who can't make it to inside the stadium are going to have the ability to watch the games. Like, no, we're going to ticket those as well, so you have to pay for that experience, and those tickets are also going to be kind of expensive just to watch the screen of the game in an outdoor facility. Like, man, I hate.
Listen, total tangent on this, but I shared this with you guys over the break. Back in 1994, my dad was able to get tickets for me and him to go see a quarterfinal World Cup game in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. It ended up being, I think it was Belgium against Germany. Germany had won the previous year. We had no idea who we were seeing. We just knew it was the quarterfinals. We were going to go watch. Germany ended up losing. He found the receipt. They just moved. He found the receipt for the tickets. He paid $55 per ticket for us to go to the quarterfinals of the World Cup to see the former champions play. Even if you account for inflation, that would be $116 per ticket today. Tickets for the quarterfinals today are going anywhere from $550 to $1,700. So even if you're saying we're adjusting for inflation, no, you're not. You're 5 timesing that, if not 10, 15 timesing that, just to make more money for yourself. The whole thing is just insane.
Yeah. And there's more games than there's ever been. And it's like it's all stupid. This is just so bad. We're not even probably going to travel to any of the cities that are hosting. We thought about like, oh, we're not going to be able to afford the tickets, or we're probably not going to be able to get tickets to an actual game, but at least we'll go to the city and like be a part of the atmosphere there, and like all the camaraderie, and like seeing all the different countries and their supporters. That'd be really cool. It's like, I don't even want to do that. And like, it's all just stupid.
Yeah,
we'll have plenty of opportunities to go to the pitch, and
I was gonna say
as a group, like we'll just get together and do it ourselves.
And I'm gonna have a good time.
Agreed. Well, I'm sure there's going to be much more to come from this whole collective bargaining agreement conversation saga. Like I said, I'd love to have Robbie on. We will have Robbie Mertz on. It's just whether or not we get him next week if he's back from traveling or not. As I mentioned, he was on the board of the Players Union for a few years, and so he has intimate knowledge of what's happened with the conversations, how much that he's willing to share. We'll see. Robbie's almost always an open book, so I'm not too worried about that. But we will learn more, and I don't really see anybody who's not in the players' side on this. Like, they're not asking for the world. It's just they're asking to be treated fairly. And like Joe Farrell said, I'm not asking for a mansion. I'm just asking for a nice apartment that I don't have to share with 3 other people. So I get it. So more to come. Obviously, share your thoughts if you have any as it relates to this whole conversation. Maybe we'll bounce them off Robbie and see what he thinks. You can hit us up at mongols3@gmail.com. We're also over on Blue Sky if you want to take part in the conversation there. Or you could join us live and share your thoughts there as well, as we have a lot of comments that have been flowing through this episode, which we appreciate. Guys, I think that was everything on this agenda. Like I said, first practice for the Hounds is Monday the 27th. I know the Riveters are gearing up as well. Who we saw? Oh, at the 3-on-3, I think John Rotz was there. Scott was there. Scott Gibson was there, sort of eyeing up talent there as well. Not that he was going to bring in anybody from these 3-on-3 tournaments, but I think more from the academy side. So a lot of stuff going on.
Anything tryout on the 16th?
Yeah, another tryout on the 16th. So it's all snowballing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about on this one?
Covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. Like I said,
forgot how much there was after a week off.
Right? Like, and I'm sure that we'll probably have equally as much heading into next week.
Hopefully, like a plethora of signings to talk about.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm this is another situation where it's like, is this going to be different now that Bob's gone? Is it going to be like signings are going to come early, or is this going to be like we're still waiting for signings happening after preseason starts, and we're like, we have nobody left or signed so far? What's going on?
So when you were talking earlier, Josh, it reminds me, my best friend does not do resolutions, but he does a theme for the year every year, and so our theme, I think you named it as Mongols, is the lily of it all.
There you go.
I don't know how I feel about having an entire year based around Lily when he's not here. I still have a few years ago, we made bumpers. They're not really bumper stickers, but they're stickers that said, "Welcome to Lily's League."
Yeah.
It's hanging on my fridge downstairs that I may need to do something with. But we need to make new stickers too. So if anybody has any ideas or thoughts of something cool that you want to see, send us our way. We have not made them yet. I know Liz, I think Liz ran out. She said she ran out or was running out at the end of last season. For those who don't know, if you find Liz during the game and she gets you on the full 90, you will get a Mongol sticker that you can put wherever you'd like. I know some people have been collecting them over the years because they change pretty much every year. I think she had a few extras last year from the year before, but we got that to do. Boy, it's all happening so fast. Liz just said we'll run out very soon. So there you go. They're a collector's item, man. You got to get it while you can. All right, gentlemen. As always, appreciate the conversation. Like I said, looking forward to talking to you guys next week. Steve, I know, don't show it. I know you got your tattoo and we've seen it. Is it healed? Is it healed up nicely?
Oh yeah, it looks great.
It looks great. I'm supposed to get mine Saturday morning.
Okay.
So we'll see if I'm standing or sitting by showtime on Sunday.
I'm
still going for the shin.
Still going for the shin. Yeah.
All right.
I'm getting fitted for it probably this week. I mean, and then I don't know. We haven't scheduled the actual date, but he made it sound like he was pretty open. So
nice.
Hopefully I'll be getting mine within the next couple weeks.
Sweet. Okay. Like I said on a previous, I may have said it off air. I don't even remember. If you end up getting a Riverhounds tattoo, then we will make a point of getting everybody who got a Riverhounds tattoo. It could be Riveters too. I'm not biased. Get everybody together at All Hounds Eve, and you'll get a drink on me, and we'll just sort of be like a little club. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, maybe one drink that'll push you over the edge.
That will pay for it.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate all the support and all the conversation. As I mentioned, you can hit us up at mongols3@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back with the next show here in about a week, live Sundays at 7 p.m. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.